As his legal woes pile up, Matt Gaetz digs in. The Trump-loving congressman from Florida telling a group gathered at a Trump resort on Friday, quote, "I'm built for the battle and I'm not going anywhere." It's going to take more than just bluster to fend off the mountain of legal problems Gaetz is facing, which include a House Ethics Committee probe and a federal sex trafficking investigation, which could receive a big boost with cooperation from Joel Greenberg. He's the Florida tax collector and Gaetz' associate who faces dozens of federal charges. Attorneys said last week that they expect Greenberg to strike a plea deal in what is seen as a sign that he is likely to become a witness against Gaetz. New York Times out with a stunning report detailing Greenberg's past. Quote, records and interviews detailed a litany of accusations. Mr. Greenberg strutted into work with a pistol on his hip in a state that does not allow guns to be openly carried. He spent hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars to create no-show jobs for a relative and some of his groomsmen. He solicited help to hack critics on the county commission. Stalking a rival candidate got him arrested. Federal agents looking into the matter found at least 5 fake IDs in his wallet and backpack and kept digging. One lawyer describing Greenberg like this, quote, "It's like the Tiger King got elected tax collector." And now Politico reports that in the days before Greenberg was indicted for sex trafficking involving a 17-year-old girl, the same woman at the center of the investigation into Gaetz, quote, "Greenberg reached out to mutual friends and tried to enlist them in his defense." It's according to a WhatsApp chat shared with federal investigators and obtained by Politico. Greenberg went so far as to push Gaetz to use his influence with Trump for a pardon. It's according to 2 sources familiar with the discussions, including one who heard Greenberg say it repeatedly. Now, Gaetz denies all allegations. He neither confirmed nor denied to Politico that Greenberg asked him about a pardon, but he denies that he asked Trump for a pardon for himself. Joining our conversation, Mark Caputo, senior writer for Politico and one of the reporters whose byline is on that Politico story. Your byline is on the story that we reported on last week. We read a lot of it about the wingman-like bromance between these 2 men. And as we talk about heightened legal peril for Matt Gaetz, it's just important to understand how close they were, right? And in how much legal jeopardy Mr. Greenberg is today.
Yeah, he's facing a world of hurt. Greenberg has, 33 charges. They range from sex trafficking of a minor, stalking, a host of financial crimes. Heck, like 5 days after he first got indicted and 4 days after he quit his office as Seminole County tax collector, Greenberg resurrected 2 companies and then, according to the indictment, committed CARES Act fraud to steal COVID relief money. It's just really remarkable. On the case of Gaetz, and his allies, what they're doing is they're monitoring what Greenberg's going to do. And if Greenberg does happen to testify against Gaetz and try to turn evidence against him, well, Greenberg has some problems, some credibility problems as a potential witness. One of the charges that he's facing is falsely smearing a rival as a pedophile. And also there's having sex with a 17-year-old. This WhatsApp chat also kind of details how Greenberg, according to the chat, sort of tried to enlist others into his defense. The person he was discussing this with was a mutual friend of Greenberg and Gaetz. And that person who received the messages felt that Greenberg was trying to set him up and trying to draw everyone into his defense. And he told us it just feels like he's trying to run the same playbook against Gaetz that he did against this rival who was a school teacher whom he falsely smeared as a pedophile. Obviously, the case is developing. And really, the key witness in all of this is probably not Greenberg. It's the former 17-year-old woman who is at the center of this case. And I say woman because now she's 20. She works in the pornography industry. She's not returning messages for comment. She's not commenting currently. What is she telling prosecutors? Is she telling prosecutors that Matt Gaetz had sex with her or knew that she was having sex with Greenberg when she was a minor? If so, that's really problematic for Matt Gaetz. If not, then prosecutors are probably left with a lesser charge. When I say lesser, I mean it carries a smaller mandatory minimum of potentially violating the Mann Act because Gaetz and some of his associates went overseas to the Bahamas, took a bunch of girlfriends, lady friends they met on the Seeking Arrangement Sugar Daddy website and engaged in sexual activity and the like at a resort. Under the Mann Act, you're not supposed to transport people for the purposes of committing or engaging in prostitution. The question is, was it prostitution? Are these arrangements in these sugar daddy websites, these seeking arrangements, are those prostitution or not. That could be a thorny thing for prosecutors to muddle through. All this is developing. There's a lot we don't know. So far, we haven't seen any clear evidence that Gates has committed these crimes or that Gates might have committed these crimes. So we're kind of waiting on that shoe to drop, if there's a shoe and if it does drop.
So I'm not asking you anything about how this reporting that you have today about the WhatsApp messages came to be. So please don't misunderstand me. But I'm guessing if there are WhatsApp messages, and other news organizations have reported on actual receipts for transactions of sex, this is an investigation that has a lot of documents and materials. Can you characterize where your understanding is, what you understand the investigation to be in terms of its phase? Do they have phones? Do they have communications? Do they have lots of things like WhatsApp messages and receipts?
I think yes, 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 and yes, if I could have answered each one of your questions. What we haven't seen currently is clear evidence that there are actually kind of Venmo receipts for sex. The Daily Beast had reported that Gates had given $900 to Greenberg at one point and had name-checked the young woman who's at the center of this case, albeit she was 18 at that point. It was just after she turned 18. After sending that $900 to Greenberg, Greenberg then apportioned that money out, according to the Daily Beast reporting, to 3 women. Now, it doesn't say in the subject line, this is for sex, right? So it's unclear exactly what it's for. That's where testimony and more investigation and more evidence comes in, kind of fill in those blanks. And we're still in the process of filling in those blanks.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.